Well, I've got a lot to share with you guys today regarding our United States economy. As you know, we've got tariffs. We've got China right now talking about banning the export of minerals. And that's going to have a real impact here in the US, especially on things like gold, silver, tangible things. I've got a lot to discuss, but I want to show you this article. And this was on the Economic Collapse blog. And it talks about AI and 12 things that AI says will not be affordable for the middle class. And in that article, it says things like home ownership, higher education, retirement savings, healthcare, childcare, new cars, organic food, groceries, everyday essentials, comprehensive insurance plan, leisure vacations, personal fitness, and even some of those tech upgrades that the government wants us to do. But a lot of those essential things could, be very unaffordable. And there is a way that we can protect ourselves and hedge ourselves as a middle class person. I'm middle class. Most of us, we're not the rich of the rich. We're not the top 1%. But there has to be a way that we can overcome some of that, especially in light of what China is going to be doing. So on this broadcast, I've got an economic insider and expert, and that is Colin Plume with Noble Gold Investments. Are you with me over there?
I am. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, and to hear these things, I think everybody is concerned that you can't afford a regular vacation and full insurance and the right kind of food. I mean, these are all the things that you work hard for to be able to afford. These are the things that you need, to have a vacation once in a while, to afford the essential things in your life. These are all the things that everybody wants and is striving for. And it is quite concerning that they believe that these things will become unaffordable in the future. And so I always look at what are the ways that you can keep those things, afford to be able to live, grow your wealth, and gold and silver have been able to do that for a lot of clients that have done that with us. But we have to go from today going forward, and how do we protect ourselves even more from what's going to happen? And President Trump, one of the ideas, I think, interesting idea is the 50-year mortgage that he's been talking about pushing forward. And at first I thought, like, why is this? What's the thought process? And I've thought a lot about it as someone that I also believe in anything tangible. Real estate is a tangible investment. And the idea of a 50-year mortgage opens up getting a mortgage for younger people. And I think that's something that you and I share in, is that I think we both believe that if people could afford a mortgage in their 20s, they would be more likely to get married. They'd be more likely to have kids. They'd be more likely to have that nuclear family, which is really the way that the middle class has succeeded in this country. If you look at the 1950s and 60s and early 70s, there was a middle class that had one person working, that they could afford things. And so this idea of this longer mortgage, bringing the monthly payment down, and it's not a ton, but it does bring it down. So if we bring that monthly mortgage payment down, we give an incentive for younger people that are employed to get a house in an earlier start point in their life. This can help make it more attainable to the things that you mentioned earlier. Because if you can lock in that mortgage at a rate, and they said it would basically bring the average mortgage down that's $2,400 or $2,500 a month to about $2,100. And it's not a huge amount of money, but that $400 or $500 that's locked in, that mortgage, and you hold that house over time, and you grow the other things, and you grow a little bit in your job, and you grow a little bit in your investments, those can help you attain those things and build. And it's really an idea of compound growth, and starting the ability to have compound growth at an earlier age. So I think this idea with President Trump, bringing this to people, giving them the availability to afford a home at an earlier age. And this is important right now, because I don't know if you've probably talked about this too, but the average home buyer right now is 60 years old.
And let me add this. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan on the 50-year mortgage, but right now, there is no way for a lot of these young people to afford a home. And I don't know what to do. I think we need to come up with other options. But as the sponsor of this video, you guys there, you have great insight on stuff. And it is chilling to think of where we could be headed. And I know Donald Trump's trying to throw out options. So he threw that out as one. And then there was another option that he gave out, and I'm blanking right now, but I liked that one kind of a little more promising. And it's something about carrying your loan interest rate onto a new purchase, being on the percentage. So, and that was something that I was like, all right, that might be so good for the mortgage people, but for the average American, it's amazing. But here's the deal, Colin. You guys work a lot in the industry, right? So I think there are things that we can hedge our bets, because our ultimate goal is we don't want our kids to have to get on a 50-year mortgage, because of how bad it is, although it may be the only option, right? The way that we are headed. So how can we help, I guess, the next generation, overcome something like that? You brought up China and I guess the ban on the export. Would that have an impact? Is that a way that we could hedge our bets on something to get a little more money in our pocket? I guess, what's your opinion on China initiating the comprehensive ban on critical exports starting in 2026?
Yeah, so I think what it is this is a piece of information. There's two things that are happening right now that we need to be conscious of in precious metals. One, China has said that they're gonna ban the export of critical metals. China controls 90% of the critical metals in the world. Silver, gold are some of those things. They're saying silver would be included in that, so they're not going to export. This is very telling because they currently export a few 100 million ounces of silver in a year. So they're saying they're going to stop that and what they're saying is that they can no longer do that because they need it. China needs it. They can't sell it. They need it. It's too important for them. And it reminds me a little bit of kind of what happened during COVID, where we in this country realized that like we had farmed out too much, right? Like we were in a bad position because we had to wait for China to send us or not send us stuff. And we had a shortage. Well, China right now is getting ahead of it. They're saying, well, I'm going to stop sending silver to other countries. We need it because, their middle class is growing. So they need it for solar panels. They have a lot of electric vehicles that are there. They need it for silver and all the other thousands of uses that silver is. So they're going to stop. They're going to basically say, we're going to keep our silver here. So you have that happen, and that just recently happened. Then you have the US that made silver a critical metal. They've changed it from just a metal that we use and buy to a critical metal. So this has all happened within 30 days. So two of the biggest, strongest economies in the world have made silver a priority for themselves and basically said, we need it. So what we're telling people is that this information is out there and that it's not going to have maybe not an effect today, but in 5 and 10 years, these two countries are saying silver is an important metal. We have to have it. And that's with silver at the price of today. And that's so interesting because people have said to me, wow, the price, it's expensive. But they're saying they need it. It doesn't matter. And that's what I always say to people is that with critical metals, with gold and silver used in industry, if they need it, they will pay the price. There is no price they won't pay. If we need silver for drones, if we need silver for technology, data centers, they will pay whatever price. I mean, you're seeing all this news about data centers, right? I don't know if you're seeing this on the news a lot. They need more. They're building more. They're not going to stop. They need them. People are using AI. They're using all these things. They're using ChatGPT. They need more of these things. Silver is a big component there. So the price will be what the price is going to be. So if they need a data center and they need silver and silver's $300 an ounce, it will not matter because it's still less than many of the other critical metals that they're going to buy out there, rhodium and all these other things that are thousands and thousands of dollars. Silver is still very conductive. It's still an important metal. And so what they're saying, what China and the US are saying right now, the underlying message is this: they are stockpiling silver. That there's no other way to look at it. Why would they make it critical? Why would they say they're not exporting it anymore? They want to make profit. If there's profit to be made, they want it, but they don't believe the profit outweighs them to have it in reserve. And so these are what I'm telling people is just watch what countries are doing. They're saying it's really important. The other thing to keep in mind too is that we've had this unbelievable shortage of silver on the LBMA. The LBMA is the paper contracts, right? And so the paper contracts of shorters have had this thing called backwardization. Backwardization is basically a fancy word that basically means that traders and heavy investors are actually paying more to have silver now, physical silver now, than they are on a contract. And that has happened very few times in history. And the reason is they don't trust the contracts. They don't trust that there's enough silver to fulfill their contract. So what's actually happening on the LBMA, which is the big exchange, is that they're paying a huge premium to get the silver now. And they're shipping it from all over the world to fulfill these contracts as they want it now. And they'll pay a premium. They'll pay 20, 30, 40% above the spot price to get silver now because they don't want to wait for that contract in the future, which is unbelievable. It's so insane to me that people are not seeing this, because if these huge institutions are paying a premium 30% to get silver now, that means they know in the future there's going to be shortages. That's the only reason to pay to get it now.
Now, so I guess to kind of interrupt a little bit, but add to that, I mean, here's the thing. I guess what you're saying, right? So you're saying China holds about 90% of the silver. If they stop exporting that, and we here in the US are saying this is going to be a critical mineral, obviously that's going to make the value of silver go up, because if they're not sending it out, and now our silver may become more valuable to other people who may want it, in the whole nine yards. So would you say that you absolutely foresee a price increase because of this, like in silver itself?
It's bullish, and it's also telling that the industrial demand of silver is essential, because what they're saying is it's essential to our national security. And that's really important. And we will do whatever it takes to protect our national security. And silver is using drones, and it is using weapons, and it is using bombs. So there are these other usage besides the usage that you and I are using all the time that we need it for. So I would say it's hard for me to think that these things are not bullish for gold and silver. And I think that that's something to keep in mind. And I will say, and I've been saying this a lot, I do think there will be a point where regular investors there won't be enough coins and bars of silver available in the market. I do think that will happen because a country like China and India and the US are going to pay more to get it for industrial uses, right? They always will pay more. They're going to pay what it takes. So at some point, is the US Mint going to be able to get silver to make coins? I think they won't be able to. So I think the amount that we have eventually will dwindle. I think the amount of coins and bars for investment that you and all of us, you and I own, they will be limited. And I think people don't realize that there'll be the spot price of silver, and then there'll be a physical demand price, which will be way above, which is already happening today. People will pay a huge premium, even above the spot price, because they're going to want it in their hands. And that's what this backwardization in the market, and people, if you look it up, backwardization, and we can send you information about this to dive into it, or you can talk to somebody at Noble Gold, and they can explain this all to you if it's coming too fast.
And by the way, I'm just going to throw it out there. If you guys want to give them a call, the number's on the screen here. You guys call them. Make sure you bring up my name, because they are giving away up to 10 of these 1-ounce silver seasonal coins for any new or new and qualified accounts. So make sure you bring that up, by the way. But like I was saying at the beginning of this video, I think Colin has a lot to say, because here's the deal. I brought up where we could be headed, where AI sees us in the middle class in the very near future, where we can't afford basic stuff, house, car, insurance, essentials. And I think one way that we can hedge our bets against that is if, hey, you get your hands on some tangible silver or even gold or whatever, which you can do by calling Noble Gold Investments at the number on the screen, or go to lisahavengold.com, fill out the information there, and they'll send you a free wealth kit, by the way. But I think it's a way that, okay, you hold this tangible stuff and diversify your profile, and eventually it'll go up, and you say, oh, I paid this for it and I got eventually this for it, versus putting all your ducks in one little pot, so to speak, with the US dollar. And we're headed for some inflationary stuff, I think, with the dollar, which is not something I would recommend hedging your bets in, but you get where I'm going.
Yeah, and I also think when you look at the country, they say less than 1.5% of U.S. Citizens actually own gold and silver. We've had some of the biggest companies, Morgan Stanley, the CIO, that one of the top people at Morgan Stanley recommends a new portfolio. They've recommended this. I don't know if you saw this: 60% equities, 20% fixed income, 20% gold. It's never happened. They've never recommended. I've been in this for 17 years. It used to be 1 to 2%. If people start listening to Morgan Stanley and all these companies, and they start going from 1% to 20% of their portfolio in gold, that would send shockwaves through the industry. The amount of gold and silver being bought by retail, you and I, to get to that number, it would be the bull run of all bull runs. And so people are listening, people are hearing these things, and if you just wrap that all up into a bow, it's like maybe it's time for me to at least dabble or look at gold and silver or talk to somebody. And so that's where we come in, whether it's an IRA or like an old 401k, or you just want to have some at your house, or if you want us to store it in a segregated deposit. I was actually just in Texas. I did a blind audit of our depository in Texas, just an unbelievable facility. So if you want it, we can store it there for you. It's a segregated account. I held a $10.5 million gold bar in my hands, which is pretty fun. It's real gold. It's real silver. It's not fake. You own it. We just help you get there. There's no funds. There's no leverage accounts. And we love what we do. As you know, Lisa, we love this. Everybody at Noble Gold loves gold and silver. This is our passion. This is like everything we want. And we love to give people education about this. So if anybody wants to call in and get educated on silver, we have guides on silver. We can send you my book, Silver is the New Oil. And obviously, if you buy from us and you qualify, you get those free silver coins that we just talked about.
And if they listened to us 7 years ago with gold and silver, they'd be, depending on how much they bought, you'd be sitting pretty, right? So hopefully some of you listened to us 7 years ago, right, Colin?
But we've been doing this for a while. I think it's almost, are we at 8 years? I think we might be.
Oh, it might be 8 years now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to age ourselves, but it might be 8 years at this point.
Lord. Anyway, well, any concluding thoughts that you want to share? I guess ultimately, what do you, just in like a short reply, nothing crazy, but where do you see us at in 2026? And then just share the link and any information on how people can contact you as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we're in a consolidation phase for metals where they're trying to create their floor, right? If you look at the charts, they're testing different boundaries. Silver's in the 51, 52 range today. Gold's at, around 4,000. Really depends on a few things. But my one belief is that I do think the Fed will do quantitative easing next year. I think they're going to open up the money supply. And I do think if you look at the last time we did quantitative easing in 2009 to 2011, gold and silver went on an unbelievable run. So coupled with all this news about China and the US making silver a critical metal, I do think we're going to open up money here to stimulate. So I think that'll help. We're here to educate. At the end of the day, our goal is to build a relationship with people. You're going to like who you talk to. That's the most important. We're in the customer service business, right, Lisa? And you've been referring people to us for 7, 8 years, somewhere in that range. But we really take pride in our relationships, shipping metals fast, picking up the phone, whether gold or silver, up or down, whatever's happening, you can always call us and ask questions. So we're just here. We're going to be here for the long haul. And if people want to learn from us, we're happy to help.
Perfect. And if you guys want any of that information, it's also in the description box below. There's a link in there. You can call the number on the screen or go to lisahavengold.com. Check out that information there. And if you fill out, put your email and stuff in there. They'll send you a free wealth protection kit. And don't forget to mention my name when you do call in so you can take advantage of up to 10 1-ounce silver seasonal coins. They're pretty cool with any new and qualified account. So with all of that, thank you again for coming on the broadcast, Colin. I truly appreciate it.
Thanks, Lisa.
And thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, and that was Colin Plume with Noble Gold signing out.